They care about the mission of secrecy and running the earth into the direction of a totalitarian superstate versus disclosure and moving into another direction. That's what they care about. And so if you were to turn over through asymmetric disclosure this positive evidence, you don't have to have your name attached to it. Why? It can be just on the evidence should speak for itself if it's that clear. And we're talking documents and images and not vague stuff, right? Clear. And we know that people have that. Now the question is, will they do it because they know they're tracked and perhaps they're worried they'll be killed or their families will be? But this is where they need to connect to me, and I hand them over to the protective detail and to the law enforcement people. Because what's set up is that if anyone moves on any of these whistleblowers we have, that's going to be caught red-handed. We have this, I won't say more than this because it's OPSEC, operational security. Anyone who pulls a stunt like that will be caught in real time and arrested. Listen to what I just said. So
Yeah.
that nasty business, that's now being tracked. Anyone who approaches us, they're put in that system, and they are going to, anyone who tries to pull a stunt like that, it's going to be caught in real time. I'm not going to say more than that, but the system is in place to do it.
All right, let's once again take a quick clip right here at asymmetric disclosure. Guys, watch this.
I've concluded that since there's no bandwidth in the Congress at this time to be able to do proper hearings, because what you saw recently was just a dog and pony show. Is ridiculous. Anyone who would look at the 2001 Disclosure Project event, you'll see 22 witnesses, every one of them more substantial firsthand than anyone who was up here recently on Capitol Hill. So, you know, everyone in my world are going, and particularly the military and the top secret whistleblowers are going, this is just ridiculous.
Oh, I always say dadgummit after these miserable hearings. They're bogus. Look, I could have answered every one of those dadgum questions, and you know it, and I know it. I know more about this than the average bear, I guess. Maybe that's a scary thought, but this thing's a cover-up.
Was I a little bit disappointed in some of the responses from the witnesses? Yes, we got some great stuff, but you know, I'm not interested in hearing about people's books. I'm interested in hearing about whether or not people can answer the questions, because we are trying to get this into the archives so that people have access to the information. And so I wish there was a little less pitching and more talking.
So what's next?
Here's what's next. We've concluded that, and we have someone who's under non-official cover, very senior aerospace and intelligence.
All right, we're back. We're running out of time, but I wanted to get a couple questions in before we get going. But again,
Sure.
Asymmetric Disclosure, it's available, and the link is below. It's a genius link. You could watch it on Google Play, Amazon, iTunes, and again, we brought the price down dramatically so we could get a more broad watch on this. And again, it's supporting disclosure when you rent this documentary. Basically,
Well, I want to be sure a little bit of it is. A little bit of it is, yeah.
What is the singular reason why people should watch Asymmetric Disclosure?
Well, I think people need to get educated on this subject very quickly and then pivot to being activists. So, I mean, when I say an activist, I mean you actually pick up your pen and paper, or your computer, and write to your members of Congress and network to other people. The other reason is pass it on to other folks who may have been involved in a base or a covert program at an aerospace company or a contractor, and say, look, you know, this needs your attention, and maybe you can help be part of this movement of whistleblowers coming forward, because we get new whistleblowers every week or two or three. And so I think that this needs to become, instead of a trickle, sort of a wave of people defecting from these illegal programs and coming forward with the evidence, so that asymmetric disclosure then primes the pump for official disclosure out of the U.S. government. And, you know, look, we live in a democracy. I think people need to be educated. They need to have an informed citizenry, as Eisenhower said, but then they need to take the next step. And this is where most people drop the ball. They don't take that next step. And I hear from members of Congress all the time, we want to hear from our constituents. We need to hear more from the public, right? And so, if you don't do that, if you're just sitting around passively, entertaining yourself on YouTube with cats playing the piano or whatever it is people do, that isn't going to cut it. I mean, we really need people, and we also need people to pick up the mantle and help us with this campaign for disclosure. We're going to need to raise in the next 4 months about $1 million to carry what we're carrying. And that's a lot for a private, organization like ours. And I'm a retired doctor. I can't do it. So we're going to need that. Anyone listening who can help, please contact me at drstephengreer.com, because the amount of, let's say, overhead and expenses we're incurring to make all this happen, the investigation and the transport and everything for all these whistleblowers and all that we're doing, it ain't free. I got news for people. It's a very labor and expensive business. And so that is something that we're going to need to have more public support on. And really, somebody ought to write a check for 10 times that, just because of the consequence of what this subject is. But at a minimum, we need people to go out there and help fundraise for us to get Disclosure Project properly funded, because we're operating with 1 1/4 staff people, volunteers, and a very limited budget, very, very small budget.
Yeah, and supporting and watching the documentary also helps. Let me say this. Basically, you're the sheriff in town. Do you want to put anybody on notice? You want to drop any names, Steve? Like who should be, if they're continuing to do what they're doing?
I already did. I
Yeah.
don't think I need to do it again.
All right.
and their associates. I'll just say this: we know who they are. Anyone going up to the Pentagon, Capitol Hill, in the White House circles, stating these false statements to block our evidence and our whistleblowers to getting to the official investigators of this subject are committing multiple federal felonies. And this is a heads up. You need to stop it.
Any last words, Steve?
No, I'm just saying right now things are going very quickly, and a lot of it I can't go into publicly, but there's wonderful movement on the investigation, law enforcement, criminal investigation side. Huge, but it's all very, very quiet. I think it needs to get supported further, and the way you do that is the public and the members of Congress step in, and there needs to be like a serious Watergate type hearing with subpoenas. And boy, do I have a list. I have 50 people for them to subpoena to be brought in, and it would be the hearing of the millennium. But that is the way that happens, is that the public and the media are going to have to start covering this in a way commensurate with how serious the situation is, and it's a very serious situation. So I would say we need all hands on deck, and we need all the help folks can offer us.
Appreciate you, Steve, for being on the front line. Again, you're being attacked, and nothing's new there. But again, trying to attack you, and then by